All right, in this section we're going to learn how to create forms, which is very exciting because I love forms. They're fun and they're cool, and they're kind of like the wrapping paper on a birthday present. But the first thing we need to do before we get into forms is we need to clean up our tables, because we've been kind of going in here and I've been adding in new fields just so I could show you different field properties and whatnot, but I haven't filled these all out. So we're going to do that, because one thing you don't want to do is have a database with empty cells and gaps in your data. So we're going to clean this up, and I'm going to do a couple of tweaks to make this work better. So one thing you'll notice, if we click into this date of birth field, it looks really funny, right? Our 3 for March is in the left-hand side of this 2-digit thing, so it really should be 03, right? And that's because we have not only formatting, but we have an input mask. Now we also want to have this bring up a little date picker so that you can just click on a calendar. So I'm going to show you how to do that real quick. So first let's close our table offices, because these are linked, so we can go into our design view. And we'll go to our date of birth. And remember, I was showing you how to create an input mask so that when you enter this in, it shows all the brackets and spaces to make it easier to enter. But we're going to go ahead and take that out of there so that we can just use the date picker, which is a lot more user-friendly. So let's just go ahead and highlight that and click delete or backspace to delete it. And we'll go save our table and go back to datasheet view. Okay. Now when we click into this field, it doesn't show the same gaps and everything. And you'll notice we have this tiny little calendar. So we can click on that and we can select any date that we want, which is awesome, including today. Okay, so we've already got that one filled in. We're just going to select a bunch of random dates for these just so they're all filled out. So it doesn't matter. Obviously, people would not have date of birth in 2017. But we just want this complete. And you just click in the field, click on the calendar, pick your day, and it's in there. And you can hit the down arrow if you like to. And the cool thing about having this calendar picker in here is that it will transfer over to when we create our form, which we're going to do in the next lecture. And that way, when someone wants to enter in a date, it'll be much quicker and easier for them to do that, rather than having to type it in. Oops, I entered a date after today's date. And remember, we put that validation rule on there to prevent future dates from being entered. I clicked down here, so we'll go back, fix that. There we go. Okay, we got that one, and finally this one. Okay, so that's filled out, and we're going to do this as well. And I'll show you something interesting. If you click Control and the quotes, it'll copy the information from the cell above. So I can just hit Control quotes all the way down, and then I'll change one to part-time. And then I can do Control quotes for a while on that one, because again, these are arbitrary numbers. These are just fictitious. But that's a cool little keyboard shortcut, Control and the quotes. Okay, so now we have a fully completed table here, which is much better. It's going to work better when we go to do queries and forms and reports. Okay, let's close that one, and we'll open up our offices table, and we just have a couple of things to finish up here. So we have two options. We could just come in and delete these entries, or we could just fill them in. And I want to show you something interesting when you do delete entries with an auto number. So once it's assigned this number 9, once we delete this, it's never going to assign the number 9 again. So when we delete these and start a new record, the next record it's going to show is number 12. Okay, so let's do that so you can see how it works. Yes, we want to delete that. You just click in this box on the left to highlight the whole record, right click, delete record, and confirm. And then the last one, yes. Okay, now when I go into this one, let's say we're going to have two locations, a new office location in Washington. So we're going to put in Spokane, and see it automatically went to number 12. And that's actually the beauty of the auto number feature, is that it will not repeat numbers. Okay, so we'll just tab over and finish this out. And again, I know that this is not the right area code for Spokane, but these are just fictitious numbers. Okay, so there we go. Now we have all of our office IDs. And I want to show you just one other thing that you may have noticed that's been around for a little while now, and that's these little pluses over here. These appeared after we created our relationships. Remember, we went to database tools and created relationships, and we created a link between the office ID here and the office ID field in the employees table right there. And when we created that link, it added this little drop down, because what we did was we assigned each employee to an office, right? So if we click on this drop down, it is now showing us all of the employees that work in the Boise office because of the relationship that we created. Okay, so you can see Bob Blake there. So it shows all of their information from the other table, which is cool. And it's the same with all of these, okay? So just wanted to share that. But now we have our information all cleaned up and we can create a form. And so we are going to actually create a form for the employees table. But first we're going to close out of these. And we're just going to make sure that we're highlighted on the employees table. And we're going to go to create. And we're going to go to this button here, and this is the auto form. We're going to click that, and it instantly creates our form for us. Now let's go to our view, and we can just click on it, or we can use the drop down to go to the form view. And this is the official form where we would enter our information. It has all the same navigation down here that you see for our records in our tables, right? Left, right, new record, search. But now when we go to our date of birth, you'll see that it has an option for a date picker because of the changes that we just made. So we can go to there and we can change the date of birth really easily right there, which is cool. So that's a form using the auto form tool. But there's one interesting thing. For instance, it automatically put in our employee ID number, right? Well, now if we're entering data into this, we don't really even need to see that employee ID number. It's going to be automatically generated by Access. It's going to give us error messages if we try and change it or delete it. That was me trying to delete it. So there's really no purpose in it being there. And if anything, it's going to cause people trouble when they're trying to get in there and change it or deal with it. They feel like they need to do something with that field. So we're actually going to, in the next lecture, we're going to use the form wizard to create a slightly more customized table. And then we're going to do some modifications to it. So we can do, for instance, a drop down that shows our office IDs. So we can select the offices by city rather than a arbitrary office ID number. And then we'll do a drop down for the employee status too to make it easier. Okay?